Hey guys, it's Cho and I'm back with another video. If you're new to the channel, you may have missed my video where I talked about the downfall of Glossier. Yes, the really uber popular skincare and makeup company that took over the eyes and adoration of millennials. Now, what we talked about was that they're not doing so well these days. Glossier has been in a downward spiral for the last few years, and in that video we talked about the reasons why that is. If you have not watched that video, please go do your research and watch it now, because this is going to be somewhat of an update or a response to my own video. Well, is it actually over for Glossier? That's gonna be what we're gonna be discussing a little bit today. Now, what brought up this conversation is I was on twitter.com, as I always am, and I was talking to my good Judy Star. If you don't know who Star is, she is an esthetician, a cosmetic chemist, and a boss-ass bitch business owner. I adore her. She's really smart, so definitely go give her a follow if you're into Twitter like I am. But she made this tweet about Glossier, and we kind of chatted about it, and here's the tweet. She says, y'all care about beauty news? No? Well, I do. So anyways, I'm really interested in what Glossier is doing under their new CEO. Closing all their stores outside of the flagships and going into partnerships with brands like Sephora and TJ Maxx. Going from DTC to B2B. Hiring influencers when they used to just focus on community. I'm so curious about everything they're changing. I agree. And basically Glossier has been making the news with a little bit of different strategy moving forward. I have my notes right here because, again, we're talking about a business here. Businesses are so happy. I gotta have my notes. So let's start with the old CEO, Emily Weiss, or Emily Weiss. I say her name different every time. But she steps down from being CEO of Glossier. She was the founder. She started the whole thing. And I think this is a fantastic thing.
Thank God.
I think it's great that she's stepping down because I think we need to kind of realign our focus. There's three main reasons why I think she stepped down. Number one, Glossier was floundering like a Magikarp. Okay? Like, they were floundering like a Magikarp. Their business has not been doing very well. And again, in that previous video, which is linked down below, I talk about all the reasons why. But to summarize that video in a little bit, they had massive layoffs. They had a lot of scandalous press, usually revolving around allegations of racism and poor working conditions. And they had to close a lot of their flagship stores. Well, I think they had to close all their retail locations. So, long story short, they've been going through the gigs, and that's been all under this previous CEO. Number two, she's on maternity leave. I mean, she's having a child, and I think that, you know, I'm not a woman, okay? I'm not a woman, but I think that it is difficult for a lot of women to have to juggle child rearing and giving birth to a whole human being with their career. And I think she is of the opinion that she wanted to kind of take a step back, and that's totally understandable with the birth of her new child. But the third reason, I don't want to even paraphrase, I want to give it to you in her own words. She is on her Instagram post where she explains, she says, "To be clear, I'm not going anywhere. Just able to focus more of my time as founder and now executive chairwoman on the areas that I love. Product, creative, brand, anything that makes yours and my heart beat just a little bit faster." Cute, right? Really cute. So who's replacing Emily? Well, her name is Kyle Lee, and she was previously the chief commercial officer for Glossier. Now, I read a blog post that Emily wrote for Glossier, and again, link down below in the description box, and it was super interesting. She kind of talked about her exit and talked about Kyle Lee and how they met and kind of some of their history. and they talked about the transition, and I thought it was really, really well written. I really implore you to take a look at that blog post because she made some really good points about the distinction between a founder and a CEO of a company or brand. Now, pay attention. With the founder, she says and describes the founder as someone as the brains behind the operation. This is the person with the ideas. This is the person with the innovation. This is the disruptor. This is the dreamer. This is the person that's breathing life into the brand, the founder. Whereas the CEO is like the brawn of the operation. This is the individual that's getting shit done. They're leading the company through logistical challenges and actually accomplishing goals. And I think it's really important to make that distinction. I'm happy she did that because there is a difference. And I think that sometimes founders of companies can feel like they have to be a CEO as well when they aren't actually equipped to do that. And I'm not saying that Emily Weiss is not equipped to do it. I just think that her role has evolved. I think for one period of time, she was a great CEO because she had those founder mentalities that was able to carry them through the beginning of their career. However, being a successful business is all about pivoting at the right time. And I think that even includes the roles people have in a company. And that includes the founder or CEO. So I think that was really great. Both roles are necessary. So I think that this is a good thing. And in the rest of this video, we're going to see what Kyle has cooked up for Glossier, starting with reopening flagship stores. Now, this is some more Instagram posts that they have been making their announcements over the last several months, last several weeks, and they're closing a lot of their miscellaneous stores and focusing on like the big cities, flagship locations. This is a really good thing for them because they don't really have to worry about wasting money on the stores that are not very profitable or performing well. Yeah, it's going to decrease a little bit of the accessibility in those areas, but it's really expensive to maintain a building, to pay for a building, to rent a building, and this is really good. So before, they were leveraging so much risk with all these retail locations, even though those locations were underperforming, and that was devastating for their business and for their bottom line. So, I think they're moving towards having more intentional retail spaces. Now, as an aside, I'm into finances. If you follow my Instagram or Twitter, you know that already. But you can see this happening in the banking industry as well. You have banks that are shifting away from the whole real estate footprint by closing some of their banks. Listen, when's the last time you really had to go inside of a bank? Think about that, and get help from a clerk. How often do people actually have to go inside banks? It's the same thing with other industries. A lot of traditional banks have closed their banks and they're focusing more on an online presence. I bank with Ally and American Express, so it's totally online. I don't go into a bank ever. So that's interesting, but that's besides the point. This leads into their next strategy, which is to move from a DTC, direct to consumer, to a B2B, business to business model. Now, despite Glossier being one of the first brands to usher in this whole DTC business model and to really make it successful in the beauty world, they're realizing now, albeit a bit too late, that they need to, put a few eggs in the basket of B2B. Now, let's take a look at this major announcement they made on IG, I think a week ago. They say, today, we're so excited to announce our first ever retailer partnership with Sephora. This is a huge moment and milestone for our community and one that includes all of you. We can't wait to see you in Sephora IRL, Sephora.com, and on the Sephora app in early 2023. So I remember it like it was yesterday when Paula's Choice made their decision to collaborate with Sephora. And the internet went crazy. The girls were going crazy. And for good reason, because, you know, having that accessibility in a place like Sephora, which is carried all over the world, is pretty monumental. And I think that when Paula's Choice did it, that should have been the moment where Glossier said, hey, they're pivoting a bit, maybe we ought to pivot a bit. Do you know what I mean? But better late than never. So, you know, why is moving towards the B2B element a good thing? Well, since we know it's more expensive to rent or to own a building, you're cutting those costs, you know, which is great. You know, they're already established businesses like TJ Maxx, Sephora, they're everywhere. Everyone knows what they are. There's no barrier to entry other than paying them a cut of your sales. So I think it's a really good setup. You know, you're not paying the rent, you're not paying maintenance for the building, you're not paying for payroll expenses, which are super, super expensive for most businesses. And so that's a really good thing. You know, even though they still have to pay a cut to their partners, this allows them a broader reach for an audience. And this is an audience that, for whatever reason, might just prefer walking into an establishment to shop. Maybe they're interested in the makeup from Glossier and they want to try it on. They want to do some swatches before they purchase it. Maybe it's just someone that just happened to walk into a Sephora, didn't even know about the brand Glossier, but now they've been exposed. So really, this is all about exposure to a broader audience and a broader market in order to maybe net those people and get them into your ecosystem. So it's a good thing, you know. Moving on to one of the last strategies is they're hiring influencers instead of focusing on community initiatives. Now, I know the woke crowd, listen, I know the woke crowd will be upset about this because they're all about community, okay? But I have to question this strategy. Is it a good thing that they are hiring a bunch of influencers? You guys know I did this big ranty video that was really entertaining but informative about influencer culture and how influencers are trash and how, you know, some of them are trash, and about how they're just so untrustworthy. And I think for the last several years, we've been seeing an influencer bubble forming, and I'm not sure if it's popped already or if it's going to pop. Definitely watch that video. I'll link it down below as well, but watch that video. It's a really good one. I don't know. Are influencers still influential? I mean, I do believe that, you know, they are. And we're going to look at this quote from CNBC, where they say Glossier, which tapped pop star Olivia Rodrigo as a brand ambassador earlier this year, said it is one of the most searched brands on Sephora's website that is not currently available at the LVMH owned chain. So that right there tells you all you need to know. Yes, the too long didn't read version is yes, influencers are still influential. At the end of the day, influencers are still a very cheap form of labor for companies in terms of advertising. Even though it's a pretty low quality of advertising from the perspective of consumers, it's still cheap labor, and it still pales in comparison to the price of traditional advertising, which is much, much more expensive. So at the end of the day, influencer marketing is still cheap and effective. And I think this is speculation here. Speculation, conspiracy, all this stuff. But I do think that, you know, the inquiries that Sephora got regarding Olivia Rodrigo, who, by the way, I have no idea who she is. I know she's a singer. I'm old. I don't keep up with the pop girls these days. But I think that may have been the spark to get them to decide to push forward with this collaboration with Sephora. That's what I think.
Maybe I know it all. I don't think anybody knows it all.
Well, I know it all. So if you would like to know any of it all, come to me and I'll tell you.
Now, if you are interested in a video about this influencer bubble and kind of like influencer marketing in general, I think that deserves its own video. You know what you can do? Put a cocktail emoji in the comment section if you want to see a video about the value influencers still can bring companies, and how it's still kind of a challenging topic because of the whole dissonance between consumers like me who don't really trust influencers and then companies who need influencers to market for them because they're cheap labor. Put a cocktail emoji in the comment section if you want to see that video. Now, moving on, before we end the video, I want to ask you guys to subscribe to my channel. Okay, if you're here this long in the video, you might as well just subscribe for more content. I mean, you might as well, right? I didn't take a sip of my drink. Oh, that's good. But before we end the video, seriously, do we even want Glossier back? I mean, honestly, do we really want them back? There's still a lot of hurt people that are out of the gloss, so to speak, that are ardent haters of Glossier. You know, there was all these issues that I talked about in the previous video, all these alleged scandals and indiscretions, and you know, I think Glossier has to be really careful about marketing moving forward. They have to make sure that they can navigate this path in a way that won't upset those disgruntled past consumers and past workers and get them all riled up again, because that negative exposure could slow down their growth or their, you know, desired growth. So I think that's something they have to really be concerned about. On the other hand, the second big concern about this strategy and whether it's going to be successful or not is, you know, they have to figure out their brand identity all over again. Back in the day, Glossier really appealed to consumers in my age group, millennials. But we are not the dominant purchasing group these days. We're not the dominant group that's buying all the things. That's the Gen Z, those crazy kids. And so, you know, does Glossier really appeal to Gen Z? Again, they have to learn how to pivot and evolve with the times at the right time. And I don't know if they can do that. I don't know. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm just unsure. Now, despite my last video being pretty negative, I think I'm feeling pretty positive today about Glossier. I do think there's a bit of promise because in terms of money, Glossier definitely knows where the money resides. Okay. I think it was in July of 2021, they rose like $80 million. Okay. That's not chump change. That's not chump change. They raised $80 million. And so, you know, we live in a capitalist society. I love it. I'm a capitalist. And money can afford you privilege and opportunity. And people that take advantage of both of those things tend to be successful. And money helps you to do both of those things. So, you know, I think that the money they have in the bank is going to be put to good use. We're seeing it now with the opening of these different stores. And I'm kind of excited to see what Glossier has going on. Like, are they going to make this work for them or not? We'll see. But let me know what you think. Do you think that Glossier has a chance to rebirth themselves, to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes? Let me know in the comment section all your thoughts, all your opinions. Keep it cute in the comment section. If you're disgruntled, keep it cute. You can drag, you can spill tea, you can shade, but keep it cute. And let me know what you think. Now, before we go, I have to always tell you and remind you, like this video. If you don't like this video, you're gonna have acne scars for the rest of your life, okay? Have a good one, guys. Bye.